Dear Mr. President, like many South Africans, I've contemplated the current situation we find ourselves in and wondered where are we heading? Now, I'd start off by saying I do not envy you for the situation that you find yourselves in. I mean, I've got no reason to complain, um, well, not more so than anybody else in South Africa. On the contrary, myself and my family are doing generally well. And as a religious man, I'd say, by the grace of God, I'm thankful for the situation I find myself in. But I know that's not the situation many other South Africans find themselves in. And you and your leadership as a whole, I think that you also find yourself in a real dilemma. Um, the reason I'm making this video is because I read an article this morning stating that the government is considering putting certain areas back into level 4 and 5 where the infection rate is the highest. And that made me wonder, where are we heading? When we think of everything that's happened over the last couple of months, I must say, I don't think the government has ever been as efficient as it has been in this time. I mean, decisive decisions that's made on certain things. They've stuck to their word. They've decided to do things, and it happened. And that made me wonder why all of a sudden the government clamps down on this specific situation and conduct themselves in this with so much conviction. And it made me realize that the ANC, the government as a whole, is building up some sort of legacy, or for an outsider, that's how it seems. In the beginning of this pandemic, the WHO came out and praised the South African government for the way they've handled and conducted themselves in this situation. And it seems like the government took this as a badge of honor and said that, well, we won't let this go. We want to be an example for the world. And the world will look at South Africa and the way that we've handled the coronavirus, the pandemic itself. But I can't help but wonder, is this what the ANC want their legacy to be? Because when I think of the implications of everything else and everything else that happens outside of the regulations and the way that the government is handling the situation, I can't help but see that the problem in our country economically is getting worse and worse. I don't know where we are heading to. What will happen to South Africa? I can say with an honest heart, I've never considered immigrating. I've never wanted to immigrate. But looking at the way that the government is handling this situation, I can't help but wonder, will there be a country left in 10 years from now? And that is why I put this question to you today. What is the government's legacy going to be? Come the year 2030 or 2050 or whenever, looking back to the year 2020, it seems like the government thinks everybody will look back at this time and say, but look at the ANC's conviction and the way they handled the coronavirus. I want to put it to you from another perspective and say, if you keep on handling it the way you do, if you instate level 4 and 5 lockdown in major parts of the country, especially Gauteng and the Western Cape, the economic hubs of this country, in a couple of years from now, the world will look back at the year 2020 and say, you know what the ANC's legacy was demolishing a whole country's economy, laying to waste everything that was built up. I can't say for a fact that that is what's going to happen. No one knows what the future holds. But for as long as you handle this situation and look at the coronavirus as the only important thing that needs to be handled, and you forget about the country, you forget about the economy, you forget about everything else, the only thing you're going to be at the top of is the virus. But there's not going to be a country to govern anymore. I want to say good luck and Godspeed in this time. May God give you wisdom and all the knowledge necessary to make the right decisions. Again, I do not envy you for having to make decisions in this time, but may you find the strength and the wisdom you need to make the decisions that's right for the country that you and your government needs to lead.